Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This is Kurt, and we're going to talk today a little bit about the idea of balance in Warhammer 40,000. So I didn't do a lot of preparation for this video. In fact, I did exactly zero preparation for this video. I was just scrolling on Facebook through some of the Warhammer Facebook groups that are there, and I was reading a couple things, and it kind of made me think a little bit. There was a guy who made a comment, something to the effect of, they'll be happy with Games Workshop when they fix their game. And that seems to be a common sentiment. I don't know if it would be like a majority sentiment, but it's definitely common. It's not the first time I've heard it. One of the things that I think is interesting about that sort of a concept, there's a few things. First, it assumes that a game is fun when it's balanced. I don't know if that's true. I think part of the fun of a game is that there's inherent lack of balance, and it's finding strategies, different ways of overcoming that lack of balance. Also, just as another point, they want balance within a game, but the game has like 40 factions. So if you have a faction, you love it, which I do. Tau, that's my main, the main faction I've played. Thankfully, Tau has spent most of the time, the last 3 or 4 editions, being really strong. So I haven't had a lot of time to feel like, oh, they suck, it's so bad. But that being said, though, there have been times when Tau have sucked, and the balance within the game wasn't great, but that's why I just pivoted to another faction. I mean, for those of us who've been playing the game for any length of time, over a year or two, the odds that you have more than one faction in your collection is very high. With all that being said, if one of your favorite factions sucks this edition, well, guess what? Probably one of your other factions doesn't. But also, I think, and this is really why I decided to just hit record and just make this video, was I had this thought that just really hit me hard. Is the problem with Warhammer 40,000 and Games Workshop in general right now, is it the balance of the game? Or is it other anti-consumer decisions that they've made? And I don't want to necessarily just hate on Games Workshop right now. I think that they do a lot of things really well. And I think were this 5 or 6 years ago, I'd take a look at their strategy and I'd say, hey, look, they're listening to the players. They've got all this great stuff coming out. But things move pretty quickly. And what was great 5 or 6 years ago today isn't as great as it used to be. Let me give you an example of this. So, my big problem, and I've said this in other videos, I've said this quite a bit, to anyone really who's listening, I'll say this. The problem with Games Workshop isn't the balance between their army lists and their codices. The real issue is that in order to play any faction, you have to have 2 to 5 different books, maybe even a White Dwarf thrown in there. That's a lot of money. That's not cheap. The big rule book, which I guess is technically not necessary anymore because they post the core rules online. And then if you're going to play match play, you have to buy another book. But you got the core book, which is, I think, $60 is the MSRP on that. And then you've got chapter approved twice a year, I think. And then you've got your faction codex. So that's 3 books just right there. But then what happens if they come out with, like a Psychic Awakening type book or a campaign book or these new Seasons of War books? Or then what if you want to play ITC missions? You got to have, I don't know if they call them ITC missions, but match play missions. Then you got to have those. So you're looking at 5 or 6 books. And that's quite a bit of money. You're looking at usually about $40 a book for the codexes and campaign books, and then 20 to 30 for the others, and then 60 for the big rule book. That's a few $100s worth of books. Just books. And each of those books, you might need 10 to 12 pages of rules. You're not going to need all 100 pages of it. Plus, they're hardcover, and it's just very pricey. No one wants to carry that many books around. And even beyond like the convenience of it and the price factor of it, you've got a whole generation of gamers now. It's 2022. Most other games that we play, be it on tabletop or Dungeons and Dragons or whatever it is, you can find those rules for free or for cheap online. Games Workshop's solution to this was to come out with an app that didn't work, make you buy the book so you could access the full rules on the app. But when a new edition of the book comes out, you got to buy the next edition of the book to use it on the app. So I say all that, I get it, their business, they got to make money, but it's just not a great decision for your players. It's something that can be easily remedied, and they could even find a way of monetizing it by making, say you could get access to every book as it comes out for $5 a month. There you go, $60 a year per player, and they've got access to all their rules, and you can update them at your will. You don't have to do a marketing cycle, all that. And you've got your players in a position where they're not having to lug around books and then just deal with figuring out, do I have the new hotness? Did I forget a book? Is there something that came out that I don't have, that now, since I don't have access to, my army isn't performing the way it was intended? So I guess when I see, just to summarize all my thoughts here, when I see someone post something complaining about the internal balance of the game, I think they're just seriously missing the point. Having the lack of balance is what makes the game interesting, provides challenge for the players, and it makes it so that as you do update codexes, as you do go through the normal process of things, of updating things, you create a sort of a liquid and evolving meta. And as long as you're not playing at like the highest levels on these championship tables at these big GTs, you're not going to really notice it anyway, because most people who play, they have the models they have, and they're there to have fun or forge a narrative. It seems to me that the main issue is really just these books and these rules. This is an issue that I could harp on forever, and I've harped on before in other videos, and I would imagine I will continue harping on until Games Workshop makes some sort of a substantial change. This is really why I haven't played 9th edition. I think that 9th edition as a whole has become bloated, not so much with the rules, but just with the need to buy books. And as somebody who's a collector first, I have a Tau army, I have an Eldar army, I have a Black Templars army, I have a Death Guard army. And then you factor in Age of Sigmar, I've got Stormcast Eternals, I have Soulblight Gravelords, I've got Maggotkin of Nurgle. And you look at all of these different factions, and you want to reasonably be able to collect and complete collections, even really play occasionally every couple months. I can't do that if I got to spend $500 a year on books for a bunch of armies that might see play a few times a year. So, if Games Workshop's listening, which I doubt they are, but if you are, change your darn books. Oh, your whole policy around creating these books is just bad, and it's really starting to wear on people. So this is a problem that if I were in charge, I would shoot it to the top of the list. How can I prevent my player base, my customer base, from burning out on books when my primary role is to sell models? So anyway, if you like this video, make sure you hit the like button. If you're not subscribed already, please do. Hit the bell for notifications so you know whenever I post and upload a new video. I'm hoping in the next few days here to have a video out reviewing the Tempest of War cards from Games Workshop, and also got a few other ideas up my sleeve. I want to see how they play out before I say anything. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.